All right, let's dive in. We're talking about one of the most influential books ever written, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're going to break down its core ideas into a super practical guide, something that can, no joke, completely change how you see your life and your work. So, you ready? Let's do this. Okay, be honest. Does this sound familiar? You are just busy all the time. Your calendar is packed, your to-do list is endless. But when you finally collapse at the end of the day, you get this sinking feeling that you didn't actually get anything important done. You're just spinning your wheels. Well, if that hits a little too close to home, you're in the right place because that exact feeling is what these 7 habits are all about fixing. So, where do we start? The whole journey kicks off with mastering yourself, and that means making a huge mental shift from just reacting to whatever life throws at you to actually taking charge and owning your choices. This really breaks down the two different worlds you can live in. On one side, you've got reactive people. We all know them, right? Their whole day is ruined because of bad traffic or a grumpy email. They're basically a puppet, and their circumstances are pulling the strings. But then you have proactive people. They operate completely differently. They pour all their energy into the things they can actually change, their attitude, their effort, how they respond. That's where the real power is. And here it is, the secret sauce to habit number 1. Look, anyone can complain. It's easy to blame your boss or the economy. But what does that actually accomplish? Nothing. Proactive people get this. They put their energy where it counts, inside their circle of influence. And the craziest thing happens, when you focus on what you can control, that circle starts to get bigger and bigger. Okay, so once you've laid that proactive foundation, it's time to build your internal blueprint. You wouldn't start building a house without a plan, right? The next 2 habits are all about designing that plan for your life, deciding where you're headed before you take another step. All right, this next question is, well, it's a heavy one, but it's probably the most powerful one in the whole book. It's the core of habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Seriously, take a second and imagine your own funeral. I know, it's grim, but stick with me. What do you want your family, your friends, your colleagues to say about you? What kind of person were you? What legacy did you leave? Thinking about that clarifies everything, and it leads to the real question. Is the way you're living today going to get you there? So how do you make that vision practical? You write a personal mission statement. Think of it like your North Star or your own personal constitution. It's that one sentence that anchors you. For example, Will Smith's is something like, I want the world to be better because I was here. Oprah's was about being an inspiring teacher. When you have your own version, it becomes this amazing filter for every decision. Does this choice move me closer to my mission or further away? Simple as that. This brings us right to habit 3, put first things first. And this matrix, this is an absolute game changer for understanding where your time actually goes. Everything, and I mean everything, you do fits into one of these 4 boxes. Most of us, let's be real, live in quadrant 1. That's crisis mode, constantly putting out fires. Or we get sucked into quadrant 3, the interruptions and emails that feel urgent but aren't really important. And don't even get me started on the time wasters in quadrant 4. But this is where the magic happens. The secret of the most effective people on the planet is that they intentionally, purposefully live in quadrant 2. This is the stuff that's super important, but not screaming for your attention right now. It's planning, it's learning, it's building strong relationships, it's working on big opportunities. When you spend your time here, you actually stop crises from ever happening. It's the ultimate proactive move, and it leads to a life that feels way more in control and way less chaotic. All right, so those first 3 habits, that's what Covey calls the private victory. It's all about mastering yourself. But now we're shifting gears to the public victory. This is where we move from just being independent to becoming interdependent. And that means figuring out how to work with, collaborate with, and win with other people. And that kicks off with habit 4, think win-win. See, Covey says there are basically these 6 ways we can approach any interaction. So much of our world, from school to sports to business, is built on a win-lose mindset. It's this idea that life is a competition, a zero-sum game. For me to get a bigger piece of the pie, you have to get a smaller one. But that way of thinking is incredibly limiting, and frankly, often destructive. This is the paradigm shift. The most effective people understand this deeply. For you to win, the other person does not have to lose. Win-win is a totally different mindset. It's a belief that the pie can get bigger for everyone.
It's not about being nice or rolling over. It's about being creative and collaborative to find solutions where everybody walks away feeling good about the outcome. It's just smarter, more sustainable, and way more effective in the long run.
So the big question is, how do you actually get to a win-win solution? Well, it all hinges on habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. There's this great story in the book about a dad who's frustrated because his son just won't listen to him. And his friend basically stops him in his tracks with this line. We are all so eager to jump in, to give advice, to make our point, that we completely forget to do the most important thing first. Actually listen and understand where the other person is coming from. And there are levels to this listening thing. And we have to be honest about where we usually are. Level 2, pretending. Oh yeah, we've all done the right, while thinking about something else entirely. Level 3, selective listening, just picking out the parts we care about. Even level 4, attentive listening, is just about hearing the words. The real goal, the place where connection happens, is level 5, empathic listening. That's when you're not listening to reply. You're listening to truly, deeply understand the other person's world. That's where win-win solutions are born. And what happens when you combine that win-win attitude with true empathic listening? You unlock habit 6, synergy. This is that incredible moment when people who trust each other work together and create something that none of them could have ever come up with on their own. It's about creative cooperation at its absolute best. This might look like bad math, but it's actually the perfect symbol for synergy. It's the simple idea that the whole is so much greater than the sum of its parts. It's one person's ideas plus another person's ideas, sparking a third, even better idea that didn't exist before. It's 1 + 1 equaling 3 or 5 or 100. It's the amazing outcome you get when different perspectives combine in a high-trust environment. Okay, and now for the final habit. And honestly, this is the one that makes all the other 6 actually work over the long haul. It's not about doing more. It's about making sure you're able to keep doing everything else effectively. This is habit 7, sharpen the saw. And the story behind it is just perfect. Picture this. A guy is in the forest, frantically sawing at a tree, sweating, exhausted, getting nowhere fast. Someone walks by and says, "Hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen that saw?" And the guy, without even looking up, says, "I can't. I'm too busy sawing." It sounds crazy, right? But how often are we that person, just grinding away with a dull tool, convinced we don't have time to stop and improve? Because in this analogy, we are the saw, and we have to take time to sharpen ourselves in these 4 key areas. There's the physical, exercise, eating well, getting enough sleep. The mental, reading, learning new things, staying curious. The emotional, investing time in our most important relationships. And the spiritual, which can be anything from meditation or prayer to just spending time in nature or listening to music. If you neglect any of these, you're going to burn out. You'll become that dull, ineffective saw. So, after all that, what's your path forward? Let's put it all together. Here is the bottom line. An effective, meaningful life doesn't just happen to you by accident. It's something you build, intentionally, day by day. It's a result of making a series of conscious choices. The choice to be proactive, not reactive. The choice to define your own finish line. The choice to do what's important, not just what's urgent. The choice to find wins for everyone. To listen before you speak. To create with others. And, always, to invest in yourself. So, I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Looking at those 4 areas, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, which one of your saws is the dullest right now? Which one needs a little attention? You don't have to overhaul your whole life tomorrow. Just pick one small thing you can do today to start sharpening that one area. Because that small step, that's how this whole journey begins. Thanks for hanging out and exploring these ideas with me.